great transition into kind of talking industry stuff and kind of what you're doing now. Just before I have a few more questions on that. Just before we leave, I mean, eventually your time in the Army is done. Your time at the unit, JSOC is done. And you move on. What is that transition like for you? Just kind of moving on. Where did it start? Because did you jump right into CTT Solutions, or how'd that look? Because I understand there's a little bit of history here, and I don't know what it is.
So I got out in 2000. I had an explosive injury, lost my right eye, and so right before all the wars kicked off, I medically retired.
This is a training thing.
Yeah, we were at a JRX doing recovering down pilots and stuff. That was we were practicing. So I got out and I went from a national asset to not anonymity, but obscurity. I'm just nobody. I'm just some dude with a messed up face, missing an eye. Like
it's a rough transition.
And it's like all of a sudden you roll out the gate, hand in your badge, and you're nobody. You're just some other dude in the line at Starbucks with a bunch of scars on your face. And so that transition within a year, we're at war. And it was like, holy shit, I spent my whole life training for this. Yeah. And it's the Super Bowl starting, and I'm not even on the sidelines. I'm watching it from my couch, and it's just like I'm finding my way back into this. I'll find my way into the fight with a rifle somehow. I'll get back into this somehow. I'll find a way to be a part of this. And it literally, like a couple days later, I got a phone call from a old sergeant major of mine, and I started working the Air Marshal program. Helped stand that up. This is. The war started in September. I mean, the first attack was September 11th. So January 1, I was in Chicago screening for the Air Marshal program of 2002. We helped stand that up. And then a year later, in 2003, I was in Iraq. And I started doing high-risk contracting for PSD for the Iraqi media network initially, where they were replacing all the towers and standing up the Iraqi media network in 2003. And then in 2004, I was the first project manager hired by Triple Canopy. And then I mounted the first teams into country and started doing PSD for the governorate coordinator for Diyala province out of Tikrit, and did that. And then I went into another project. It was initially called the IED Task Force. And then while I was there, it became Asymmetric Warfare Group. And I was a ground combat advisor in the Marine sector in Anbar in 2005. So I did a regular combat rotation with the Marines. So it was like, I floated from contract to contract and just kept going overseas for those 3 years. And I learned a ton. And I got to see what was important for me is at that level of intensity, I got to see if I was the guy that I thought I was. And that to me emotionally was really important because I spent my whole life doing it. It's like, can I really do the biz?
Right.
Like, I trained for the big game and I didn't get to play it. Now the big game's on. I'm like, I'll redshirt. I'll get in there somehow.
Right.
And I got to see, and I was like, and it was good for me. I got to see, yep, I'm the guy I thought I was. There's some stuff that I think I could have been better at, and I started to refine. And there's other stuff that just came natural and was exactly what I thought. I'm like, I was happy to be tested after a lifetime of practicing something and not being able to really apply it at that level. Because I had done other stuff. I had done live operations before, but nothing like Iraq, nothing like that. And so I started to really understand my own self better. And that's what made it actually easy for me to step away from it. Not necessarily, I still miss it. I'll be honest with you. I still miss the rush and the excitement. I mean, those wars are all gone. That's all over. But there was a point in my life where it was an adventure every day. You wake up in the morning, you're like, you literally wake up and you go, okay, we're going to go do this tonight. And especially was out with the Marines. And there's people out there that purposely want to see the end of your existence. Right. And then guess what? They're going to fail. And then we're going to do it the next night. And they're like, it's a world that's unique and it's addictive and all that stuff. But I got to do all that, and I got a tremendous amount of experience out of it, and a perspective that was very, very different. And that just segued. I left there. I did training with the Asymmetric Warfare Group for the guys going on the surge. So in 2007, I was at the 82nd for 38 weeks in 1 year, training all those guys because I had just come back. So there were the places that I had been. And the places they were going to, I had been.
Yeah, yes.
And so it's like, okay, I've been there. And there were guys that were in the course that were like, okay, I was there in 2004. What was it like in 2005? Yep. And so I had something to offer, which was really rewarding. And then, that at the end of that, I started working with Viking Tactics with Kyle Lamb. I was his senior instructor, so I helped him stand up his business.
I had no idea.
Yeah. And I was at his retirement, and then I was his first senior instructor. I helped him write a bunch of stuff and stand up his business. And then I went out on my own in 2009, and I've been that way ever since.